But you can't do that, said one of the critics.
It doesn't bother me. Really? Again? Really?
Look at that little enemy of God.
Somehow we dilly-and-dally. Takes us years, and we wonder why.
What are you waiting for? Now, at this time, I'd like to ask the cameras to pan this audience, because this program is going to be posted later on JW Broadcasting. And we want the folks at home to see what the audience should look like just before the musical program is presented. Now, folks at home, this is what you should look like. Now, at many regional conventions this summer, the audience did look like that. And then there were other conventions. We'll pray for you. But you, brothers and sisters, are to be commended for your fine cooperation. You know, the 10-minute musical program that you are going to see, the prelude to the annual meeting, it took an entire day just to film, not counting all of the rehearsal time on the part of the choristers, and then there was the editing time on top of that. And these programs take an awful lot of work, an awful lot goes into it, a lot of expense on the part of musicians and so on. And so it's just appropriate that we show proper respect for what is being done. So you, brothers and sisters, are to be commended.
Well, now, another important aspect of our worship throughout these 100 years has been music. And how appropriate that we are giving attention to music here at this 100th anniversary annual meeting. So let's give our full attention now to Brother David Splane of the Governing Body and see what he has prepared for us.
Well, now, for the benefit of those of you who weren't present on Monday night, we are going to take the first song on your sheet, Song A. And this one was specially composed to mark the 100th anniversary of the establishment of the kingdom. It's entitled, "The Kingdom is in Place, Let It Come." And the way we're going to do it, we're going to demonstrate the entire song first, and then we're going to demonstrate portions of the song, and we will give you a chance to practice that portion of the song until we've done one verse completely. And at the end, we'll have you all rise, and we will sing both verses of "The Kingdom is in Place, Let It Come." We're expecting great things this morning. You'll thank me later. The Watchtower Chorus, the entire Watchtower Chorus, is here to help us. You can do that. It'll be fun. Now, in this segment, we'll do Song A. Later on, our regular choral conductor, Brother Carlo Capano, is going to be working with us on the other two songs. So right now, what we're going to do is practice bars 1 through 8. The chorus will demonstrate, and then you are going to be able to participate. So this is bars 1 through 8. So each time we'll get a cue from the piano. I will count 1, 2, 3, and then we sing. Listen to the chorus first. Now it's your turn. So we'll give you the cue, and then I will count 1, 2, 3, and then a mighty roar of praise is going to go up from this room. 1, 2, 3.
Now it's time to give our attention to Brother Carlo Capano as he conducts our next new song, which is entitled, Grant Us Boldness.
Please stand. We invite you to sing with warmth, good expression. We notice we have 7 honorary members to our chorus. Here to my right.
And what about living conditions? Where would you prefer to live in the New World? Maybe you love the country. And if you're assigned to live in the country, you'll be very happy. But suppose you love the country, but you're assigned to live in a city. Well, you can learn to love the city. Jehovah can help you to become whatever you need to become. Now, not many of our brothers and sisters would deliberately get involved with apostates, but it could happen without our realizing it. You know, we receive letters at times from brothers and sisters who are troubled by something they saw on a web page, an accusation, a rumor about the society or about the organization. And the problem is, they had no idea that apostates were behind it. It's tricky, because the apostates don't advertise, "You are now on an apostate web page." They often pose as sincere witnesses who just have questions or concerns. And some who aren't really apostates can cause just as much trouble as the apostates do by their negative talk and criticism. Brothers, we need to be on the alert. This is serious. Suppose that, out of curiosity, you get into a discussion forum with individuals who claim to be Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. You don't know. You've never met them. And someone starts asking questions. What did you think of last month's broadcast? Did you really find it encouraging? Or do you think the brothers who write Watchtower articles are living in the real world? I wonder if they realize just how hard it is out here. And then a few others join in with their own negative comments. Now, you don't know whether these individuals are apostates or just brothers and sisters who are in serious spiritual trouble. But does it matter? How does it make you feel? When you leave the forum, do you feel upbuilt? Determined to expand your ministry? More convinced than ever that Jehovah has an organization that you love and that you're delighted to be a part of. You feel honored to be a part of that organization. Or does the experience leave you sad, uneasy, uncomfortable? Now, someone might say, I need to get involved in that forum so I can help those people. They shouldn't be together. Even if they aren't apostates, they're not good for one another. Staying in that forum to help someone is like holding his hand while he drinks poison and then having some yourself so he doesn't have to drink alone. Now think about that forum. Does it create divisions? Yes. Is it a cause for stumbling? Could be. Is it contrary to what we have learned? Do we even have to answer that question? Now, whether it's intended or not, the effect will be to weaken our faith. So what do? What does Paul tell us to do here at the end of verse 17? He says, avoid them. Now, I'd like to say a kind word to some who may be involved in discussion forums. You may like to use this medium to blow off steam, so to speak. Maybe there are little things in the congregation that are happening that you wonder about, or decisions the elders have made that you wonder about, and so you get involved in the forum and you blow off steam, and after that you feel better. But what about others in the forum? How do they feel? Wouldn't you feel awful if negative comments you made were responsible for someone leaving the truth? I know you wouldn't want that to happen. So please, please, be careful about what you say. Now, another person might say, well, I can see where those warnings about apostates apply to so-and-so. He's weak, but don't worry about me. I'm spiritually strong. I can handle it. That's like a weightlifter, thinking that he can drink a vial of poison and it won't hurt him because he's so big and strong. We are not so strong, so spiritual, so intelligent, that we can't be affected by the poison of apostate ideas. There's great variety among people. Even in the New World, perfect humans won't have the same personality, talents, and abilities. You've always wanted to play the violin? Don't think when you're perfect you'll just be able to pick up a violin and play. And there's no guarantee you'll be able to play in an orchestra. Now, one way to maintain unity is to respect the conscience of others. This is very important because very often when unity is disturbed, it's because we don't respect the ability of other brothers and sisters to decide things for themselves. Now, what do we mean by the conscience? Let's be simple. It's the faculty that helps us determine right from wrong. I'm going to repeat that. The conscience is the faculty to determine right from wrong. If they're not careful, those who tend to be strict with themselves could impose their conscience on others. So here's the scenario. Two different sisters are married to men who are not in the truth. Now, in both cases, the husband's mother has died. The funeral will be in a church. One sister decides to go. The other decides against it. The sister who decides to attend has considered that in that church there will just be a talk by a clergyman. There'll be no congregation singing, congregation prayers, or religious gestures. She was never very religious anyway, so none of that would mean anything to her. And her husband and his family will be happy if she just sits quietly until it's over. Now, the second sister has a different set of circumstances. The service in that church involves participation by the congregation. She used to be an active member of that church, and she's afraid she'll do something she'll regret. Her husband's family get very emotional at funerals, and they're likely to make a scene if she doesn't participate. So, she respectfully tells her husband that her attendance could cause him embarrassment and declines to attend. You can see that each situation is different. What are some scriptural principles a sister who's married to an unbeliever might consider when deciding whether to attend a funeral in a church? Can you think of some? What about 1 Peter 3, verse 1? Wives, be in subjection to your husbands. Jehovah is pleased when a Christian woman respects her husband, whether he's in the truth or not. But a wife's subjection is relative. She's dedicated to Jehovah, not to her husband. She's dedicated to Jehovah, not to her husband. So that's 1 Peter 3:1. What about Isaiah 52 and verse 11? Touch nothing unclean. Keep yourselves clean. Under the Mosaic law, if someone so much as touched something unclean, he became unclean. Many brothers and sisters would find it very hard to sit quietly while a clergyman told lies about the condition of the dead. To them, it would be touching something unclean. Others might compare that to a young person in school sitting quietly while his teacher tells lies about the origin of life. If someone does decide to attend a funeral in a church, he or she should be absolutely determined not to participate in any religious ritual, whether singing hymns or so much as saying amen to a prayer that a clergyman offers. Remember the goal: to please Jehovah. Even in a family matter, such as attending a wedding or a funeral in a church which we may consider as a personal matter, we need to weigh the effect our decision could have on others. It could affect them in one of two ways. Now, the first is the obvious way. In some areas, if a witness even entered a church, his brothers and sisters would lose respect for him. But there's a second way the witness could stumble someone. He might be able to attend the funeral and make no compromise. But suppose a new brother decided to follow his example when a family member died. The new brother could give in to family pressure and participate in idolatry. How tragic is that? Now, maybe the elders haven't dealt with the exact situation we're facing, but they know a lot of people. They may know someone who has dealt with the situation before and seen how he handled it. Or they may know about the effect the decision had on others. For example, they might know how the congregation reacted the last time someone attended a wedding or a funeral in a church. We might allow our emotions to get the better of us. For example, when a family member is disfellowshipped. If the person is living outside the home, we know that we should limit our association to necessary family business. Now, if the family was never very close, that might not be a problem. But suppose family ties are really strong. That can be a challenge. If we allow ourselves to be ruled by emotion rather than by scriptural principles, we could stretch the meaning of necessary family business to include almost any activity. The heart is treacherous. We should be glad that we serve a God who dignifies us with the freedom to make many of our own decisions. When we're humble, we recognize that our opinion isn't always the right one. Humility will also prevent us from trying to impose our conscience on others, as if Jehovah had appointed us to judge them. What about mildness? Mildness will help us to think about the effect our words might have on our brothers and sisters. We would never want to hurt them, even when we strongly disagree with them. And we should give them the benefit of the doubt. Just because someone disagrees with us doesn't make him a bad person. We have to understand that. And his difference of opinion may search us through. It may be something that we need to think about and consider. And we always consider that the other person may be right. What about us publishers? If we're having a hard time getting along with someone, rather than asking Jehovah to change him, we should ask Jehovah to mold us like the great potter he is. Now, you may have relatives who are not in the truth. You love your relatives, and you go visit from time to time. But how long is it before you run out of things to talk about? Because we just don't have the most important thing in common, the truth. So we have to ask, why was Solomon so comfortable with these pagan women? What did he talk about? Well, you can be sure he wasn't studying the Watchtower with them. A single brother is a regular publisher. He's a regular meeting attender. But on his nights off, he likes to go to nightclubs. And he's comfortable in that atmosphere. He isn't shy about striking up conversations with worldly people. And he loves to dance. Well, there are no sisters there, so he dances with worldly women. What's the attraction? He's busy in the congregation, but there's something there that isn't quite right. A young pioneer brother loves to flirt. Several young sisters think he's interested only in them. The attention makes him feel special. A ministerial servant spends a lot of time talking to a married woman. When he's asked about it, he justifies it and says, "We're just friends. We're just talking." Famous last words. A fine young sister is offended when an older sister approaches her and points out that her skirts and jeans are too tight, too revealing. Well, all these are red flags. When it comes to choosing a mate, Solomon's example can be instructive to us. What qualities do we value in a marriage mate? Spiritual qualities? Or is it mainly the physical, and we hope that the spiritual will catch up later? A young sister is getting acquainted with a young brother. He's really good looking, has a great personality, gets along with everybody. But how's he doing spiritually? Does he have a good schedule for theocratic activities, and does he stick to it? For example, if you mention an article in a recent magazine, does he often say, "I must have missed that one"? If that's what happens, it's a bad sign. Does he make spiritual activities a priority in his life? If he doesn't do that while he's single, what makes you think that he's going to do it after you get married? Will you change him, or will he change you?
But you can't do that, said one of the critics.
It doesn't bother me. Really? Again? Really?
Look at that little enemy of God.
Somehow we dilly and dally. Takes us years, and we wonder why.
What are you waiting for?